Here is my Vector SR65, and unfortunately it has developed a problem. The problem is with, I think, the ESC, the electronic speed controller. This is rated for 20 amps. It's a water-cooled ESC. And when I plug the battery in, there's a problem. It did stop out on the water, and now it does this. I'll show you. Now I do have servo control, but throttle, it's not happy. So I'm putting that down to the ESC. It does it the same on various batteries as well, not just this one. So I'm going to change that today, and I'm going to put in one of these, a 40 amp Shark ESC. And this electronic speed controller is water cooled. That's what those two ports are for. These three I need to solder on some connectors, and they fit on to the motor. And then these two need XT60 connections soldered onto them. These are those. And these XT60 connections fit on to the battery. So I just pull off these bullet connectors like so. And that has removed the connection to the motor. Then I pull out the receiver lead, and of course the power lead to the battery is already disconnected. And I have to remake these connections on the new ESC. Here is my receiver. I normally house it in a waterproof container. I've removed that for the moment, and of course I need to disconnect the ESC receiver unit and plug the new one in the same manner. So that's yellow lead towards the little aerial. That's a straight swap. This is where the water goes into the ESC. It's a water-cooled ESC, so I need to remove these tubes and put them on the other ESC. As far as I know, it doesn't matter which way round they go. And that is the old ESC removed. Now I'm going to solder the bullet connector onto the end of the wire. So I'm going to put some solder in there. The wire already looks tinned, a little bit of flux, and then that should solder nicely. One important tip is to remember to place the bit of plastic tubing that you're going to melt around to seal the joint. Put that on first, on the wire first, otherwise you can't always get that on, although I think in this case you could. With the XT60 connectors, you got a bit of plastic sleeving. You need to put that on the wire first, and then solder those to the XT60 connection, and then we can heat shrink those around just to make sure that no metal pieces are going to short out. If I look at the battery, I can see that the black lead is the more rounded end, and therefore the red lead is the squarer end. So the black lead's going to solder on there. That's those two connections now made. I just have to put the heat shrink up to there and use the heat from the soldering iron just to tighten that up around there, around the wires. Make sure that no metal contacts are showing. Check that it's really strong first. Yeah. There's my new ESC ready to go in. Red to red, black to black, and yellow to black. Now if I've got the motor in reverse, I just need to reverse one of these connections and that should do it. You know what, I don't think I got the heat shrink where I should have, because those could touch. That's not good, so I need to redo that heat shrink. Okay, there is the Shark ESC with the protective sleeves right up to the ends of the connectors. That's where I should have put them. So red to red, black to black, and pink to yellow in this case. That is that connected. This is the receiver connection, and these are the water cooling pipes, so I think I'll put them on next. It's a bit fiddly getting these water cooling pipes on. Doesn't matter, of course, I don't think, which way the water flows through the ESC. It's just water. There you go, they are on. They're very nice large connectors. That is on a Velcro plate. It should just Velcro on there nicely, and it does. That can reach the battery, and this now goes into the receiver. Took it out again, so I'm going to put it in again. Yellow towards the little aerial. Cool. Put that in its waterproof housing. Seal up that joint with some Yoo-hoo pour, which is a rubbery type Yoo-hoo, and then that should protect the receiver. So there it is, the wire to the receiver, the 3 connectors to the motor, the 2 tubes for the water cooling, and then the battery connection. There's a receiver and its plastic housing, so it's time to power it up and see if it actually functions. So in two-way mode, you've got to switch your transmitter on and set the throttle stick to its maximum position. That'll be there. Then you connect the battery and wait for about 2 seconds. The motor will beep twice, it says. Let's see. Then put the throttle back to the neutral position. The motor will also beep, which indicates that your ESC has got the signal range of the throttle from your transmitter. Well, it hasn't beeped, has it? So, yeah. And in fact, there's a little red flashing light on the receiver, so it hasn't bounced, so I'm going to have to experiment with that. So although the ESC seems to function, the steering's okay, the throttle response isn't, so I need to go to a shop and get some advice on how to set that. So it's just not doing what the instructions say. Perhaps I can go online and do some research too. I tried and tried to get this transmitter to function with the boat, but it just wouldn't do it. I had steering control at times, but I didn't have throttle control. It was either non-existent or full power. And I could try trimming it and all sorts, and it just wasn't finding the mid-range position and the maximum throttle position. So I took the transmitter into a model shop, Pegasus Models, and they tried it, and they tried for quite a while. They couldn't set it either. So I opted to get another transmitter. So I've got this one, and this is quite a nice unit, and I can get more transmitters and receivers for it, and this is a little bit nicer, actually a little bit more hobby grade if you like. So it now should all function again. Let's plug it in and see. Cool. So there you go, all functional again. It's recommended I use 3S rather than 4S, as that may have damaged the electronics. I ended up replacing the electronic speed controller, the transmitter and the receiver. So perhaps from now on I'll stick to 3S. It's not that much slower anyhow.